Hello, this is Alan G. Davison, and I'm going to begin on the villains. Now, originally the villains didn't have a whole lot of character in them, to be honest. I think Sylar was the only one that really had any serious weight when he was created. Mainly because he was created to be, a more emotional reason for Darius to be involved. Being his former mentor, since the villains do bring quite a bit of the first book spoilers, but anyway, that's usually how it works. Is that I really didn't really know a whole lot to do with him, and his name sort of shifted in spelling over the time. I don't remember exactly how it was originally spelled, but it was spelled a lot different, and eventually became Sylar, different interpretations. And eventually I just sort of spelled it one way, and that's the way it stayed, more or less. But he was an interesting character in the sense that he had background and he had depth, but he had no real personality, per se. So, a lot of his actual personality was kind of on the spot, and I sort of thought to myself, what would be a nice little alteration for a regular soldier, but, one who's pretty much the opposite of Darius in some respects. He was, he was nice, courteous, polite. He was joking around when he was back to his normal self, at least momentarily. And I really didn't really know what to do with him, but he eventually evolved a little as the story went on, and he came to play a little bit more important part throughout the progression of the story. Even though he technically died, people who die in my story don't necessarily stop influencing the events in the world of the living. Which, how and why that happens for him, you'll just have to wait for the third book. Yay, waiting. Trust me, I don't enjoy it either. I wish I had all the books already written out and I could just sort of, publish them all at once. But sadly, it just doesn't work that way. Anyway, I really did have a whole lot planned for him when I first created him, but as the Fallen Angels sort of got more and more developed and stuff, and their overall impact throughout the course of the whole story became much more interesting and important, I really started to, started to flesh out his background a little bit more. And so I really made him I wanted to make him pretty dang likable while he wasn't under Adam's control. And that was I really haven't had any feedback on this character in particular, to be honest. And it's kind of sad, really, since he was quite the interesting individual. Alrighty, sort of not much more to talk about him, so I'll move on to the original intended piece. Adam. I had nothing for Adam. Even his name changed around a little bit, and I really didn't know what he would be like. And as I said, I did do some, development on overall motive for this individual, but I really wanted to keep it as up in the air as possible throughout the course of the story. And so, he's more or less a type of individual who would do anything and everything in order to succeed. And in the end, how he goes about doing it is really what dooms him no matter what. Because I wanted to make it so that no matter what he really did, no matter how far, how powerful, or how much he gained, I knew he would never really win. And so he had to technically go in a sense. Which was kind of a pity for the character himself, is that I really sort of I tried to turn him into a dislikable character, but I couldn't help but feel pity for him towards the end of the story, mainly because of the author's own, foreknowledge of what was going to happen in the future of the story, but also in the sense that he kind of in a way knows that he's done. Even if he does win, he's more or less done, because all of his resources had been destroyed, all his base has been compromised, and a lot of the more powerful individuals that are working, a group of commoners. Now, I'm having a bit of trouble with the recording system today for some reason. It's, skipping out on me for whatever desire. So that's not a whole lot of fun for me, so this is going to sound a little chopped up. And no, that's not intentional, because if I chopped it up, it wouldn't be in such a silly and messed up way. So I really didn't really fall too much in love with Adam as a character, but he's another individual who you're going to eventually look back at, and as the course of the story sort of unfolds. And now another one was Mabush. I wanted a big brute. I really did, and I wasn't 100% certain what I was going to do with him afterwards. His more or less creation was set up to be a failure, and more or less. But I sort of, garnered a little, sympathy towards me at the same time, because I really didn't want to create a character whose sole purpose was to screw up. I brought in the Colosseum background for him as well, and basically that was sort of tip people off to set up what was going to happen for the second book and what was going to be involved there, as well as the drop-ins of the Emperor himself. But more or less, Mabush didn't really garner a whole lot. I have been thinking about what I intend to do with him towards the course of the second book, but I haven't really had anything solid in terms of what's going to happen. I may just have him be, just stay where he is and make people wonder if he's alive or dead, but I'm still up in the air on him. I know that's a little bit of spoilers, but to be honest, I really don't have anything planned for him. Let's see here. I really didn't want it to make him too stupid or incompetent, though, so I sort of had him grow in power and strength over the course of the story. And in essence, he sort of got shafted almost every single time, and I sort of made it a bit of a running joke with him, is that he would always get beaten by someone else after trying to get a fight with the person who previously beat him. And when every now and then I sort of threw him a bone in the sense that he did grow stronger and more powerful as the story progressed, which is why at the very beginning he was getting his butt kicked by Big Mama, but in the end she was capable of taking on Big Mama and Sam and another character whose name I have momentarily forgotten. I think it was Zack. Sorry, Zack. And I really did want to drive that home that your villains grow stronger as the conflict progresses, just as much as a hero actually gets stronger. So I really wanted to, show that there was some level of organicness to it, and I do think it actually makes sense in context of a video game anyway, is that your villains get stronger as you progress because they are getting better and more powerful as time goes on as well. So for all those people who got sick and tired of seeing the same villain over and over again, but slightly bit who was originally created with the original story was Alenia. Alenia wasn't all that. She was originally created to be a female, romance for Lucius. And that was basically the origin of her character. She would be his final. She was meant to live at the end of the story, and she was supposed to be Lucius's love interest. Not exactly the most spectacular of start for the character, but as her story progressed, as I gave her depth, I really did fall in love with her over the course of the first story. And I have to admit, whether she lives or dies, she'll have to find out at the end of the story, but I really did enjoy working her background. And with the Druid Knights, I sort of set her up as a person who was very proud of her skills, who wanted to take on the impossible, and how blatantly and cruelly that sort of concept and ideas can blow up in your face. And so that was sort of my mentality, which some people of the course of the actual story itself sort of considered her a little two-faced. The first book, it wasn't meant to make her two-faced. It was meant to make her show that she had she was struggling. She saw what she was doing and she believed it was for the right reasons and stuff. But as things progressed and Adam became more ruthless over time, she stopped sort of believing in that, she stopped believing in it. Which is why in some cases she ended up helping Darius, even if it's a little backwards in the way she went about doing it. I feel sorry for the poor man's beard. He really was attached to that. Anyway, that was... I really did fall in love with the character as the story progressed, and in a sense she sort of outshined the person who was based off of. Her outfit idea is actually based off of Lucius's real-world inspirations, a regular outfit. And that was what he was originally going to wear, but like I said, he wanted to go with the green armor. So I was like, you know what, I have nothing really up my sleeve for Alenia. I'll give her that outfit. Overall, she was really fun to actually work with, and I have to admit, she became my more personal favorite of the villains of the story because she really came into the story with nothing, and in the end, she came back a badass. She was meant to be one of the more powerful of the group. Her flaming fire abilities. She was perhaps the most destructive, and I really made her to be pretty damn powerful. And in some cases, more so than Lucius, in the sense that she didn't have that mental, barrier or that desire to hold back. She was literally, a really destructive individual when it came straight down to it. But in the end, she still was a druid. She had her respect, and she was everything that I really didn't expect to get out of her character. And I'm really happy with her. I was pleasantly surprised, and I really fell in love with her as a character and an individual, especially with her backstory, the people behind her, and all of the extra things that I just got to delve into with her. She also really created a lot of character development for Lucius, who I really didn't have a whole lot to do with either. Like I said, Lucius was sort of the odd man out when it came to overall plot. And so the two characters bounced flawlessly off each other over the course of the first book. And I really do enjoy how their fight ended. I honestly think it was very poetic, and I think it was perhaps one of my better endings. And perhaps one of my worst cliffhangers. When I finally got to that part in the story, I just kept going and going and going in terms of writing. And overall, I really do like the way she turned out. And that pretty much sums up all of the original characters that were created at the very beginning when the story was conceived. I'm going to probably go over some more memorable moments